Whoa, cha-cha on the ballroom beat. You got 2 left feet. Get on the ballroom beat. They're dancing in the street. They're on the ballroom beat. We can tango, we can swing, we can do anything. Walk in through the door and waltz on the floor. You wanna feel the heat? Get on the ballroom beat. Cha-cha on the ballroom beat. Foxtrot on the ballroom beat. Salsa on the ballroom beat. Cha-cha on the ballroom beat.
Good evening and welcome to On the Ballroom Beat. I'm your host, Lania Berger, and I am so excited to be back on the Ballroom Beat with you. A big congratulations to Tampa Bay Multimedia. We are in a new space here, and I know you can't see all that I see, but what a beautiful television station they've got here. Congratulations, Tampa Bay Multimedia. So proud to be a part of the network. Now, we have a very exciting show planned for you today. Of course, there's so much catching up to do, but one of the things that I'm excited to get you caught up on is the fact that we had the incomparable Patty Contenta at the Arthur Murray Ballroom Dance Studio in Palm Harbor while we were away on hiatus. Now, she came in to do some coaching for us. She is also a judge. She's a former Ballroom Champion, a published author, and a really, really, really fantastic person. While we had her in the studio, we took a moment to chat with her so that we could share it with you on the Ballroom Beat.
Whoa, 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 cha-cha on the ballroom beat.
You are on the Ballroom Beat with Lania Berger, and I am here today with the lovely and marvelous Patty Contenta, a traveling consultant for Arthur Murray International, wonderful coach, and a published author. Welcome to On the Ballroom Beat.
Thank you for having me, Lania. It's great to be here.
My pleasure. I'm so excited to have you here in Palm Harbor. You've been here coaching for the past couple days and here on the Ballroom Beat. So let's start by talking just a little bit about what a traveling coach, traveling consultant does.
Well, we're like the third set of eyes, if you will, where we're able to kind of observe what's been going on in the lessons. And ultimately, we're always in sync with what the teacher's been telling the student. It's really new, specific information, but often it's our tone or perhaps the different words that we may use that could influence the kind of result that maybe the teacher's looking for from the student.
You show a leg line before you walk back. So I would go leg, then step, leg, then step.
So it's rarely something that's kind of like, wow, I never heard that before. It's usually just we enhance what the teacher's already been saying. And sometimes it's just a different voice or coming from a different perspective from a different gender. So sometimes the way a woman approaches something compared to a male is different too. So it's all those things that influence why you would have a coach come on a lesson to kind of observe and give the same kind of information teachers giving, but a little bit more enhanced because it's a different tone, different words, and a different gender that's kind of approaching it.
Now, for those who don't understand what coaching is, what happens is, as the franchisee, I bring in different people from around the world who are really extra special in their craft. From some of the very, very top people in our industry. And it's such a neat experience. And I think that sometimes people are intimidated by it because you guys are so exceptional. Let me ask you this. I've had people feel like, oh, I'm not advanced, I'm not competitive, should I coach? Tell me a little bit about what it's like coaching beginners, because you do that all the time, don't you?
All the time, and they're actually my favorite to coach because they really come with an open mind. They haven't heard everything. So the beauty of even being a beginner is you're almost at times, I say more receptive just because everything is new. So you'd be surprised that sometimes it could be in the description of something or the words that specific words that a coach may use. And we've traveled across the world truly, and we've seen so many body types, ages, and we sometimes have different ways of approaching perhaps a question, a challenge. And usually it just allows them to be open to hearing some new information. And I really love beginners for that reason, because everything is possible. As compared to someone who's been competing often, they've heard so much information, they're trying to decipher what's necessary for them. Not that it's a bad thing either, but you'd be surprised how much a beginner can gain from a coach, actually. So.
Now, we've also kind of said that a coaching session is like taking the information of 10, 20 lessons and putting it into one session. And then the teacher, of course, will follow up afterwards to make sure that everything that's been taught makes sense. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
On the end of being a coach?
100%. I mean, we go in there, we give a lot of information, and then the teacher takes notes. So I've even seen students here specifically taking notes at the end of the class of things that we've discussed. So you know that it's information they're going to look back on, and it's going to slowly trickle in. You can't learn everything after one lesson of hearing a coach speaking, but sometimes it's just enough to inspire the motivation to say, okay, yeah, I actually felt what you were talking about. Great, let's run with this. And the teacher can be reminded of what the coach was used, the words that they use, or the approach that they use in order to enhance that behavior once again.
Let's close it. All right, so that you actually close and then. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting, you just finished working with one of our students, Barbara, on a double session, and as she was leaving, she was smiling. That was so great, that was so wonderful, I got so much information. And then the last thing she said to me is, I'm so glad my teacher was there, because there's no way I'm going to retain everything, and that way he can follow up and help out with it, because it's a lot of great new information.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, on my end, observing coaching sessions, it's astounding the progress that happens in the 45 minutes, that hour and a half. Just boom!
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
Absolutely.
Really incredible. So, so I've also heard folks say, "My teacher is great. I love my teacher. Why can't they just teach me what the coach would teach me?" Let's hear. How is it different when it's somebody brand new? I'm sorry, I'll let you say.
No,
how is
that's
it
okay.
different?
You know what? And I do get that. You know, there's a lot of times, as I've said, it's not like it's completely new information that they've never heard, but there is an approach that we use because we recognize body awareness. We look at the way we consider the way they learn. We observe the nonverbal way that they respond to things, and then we make adjustments in our coaching to that. So often we do get quicker results just because we have the background knowledge to approach something with our sort of understanding and knowledge, as compared to the teacher may be using the same approach or the same way. Again, not that it's wrong, but our background is we've seen it all, we've done it all, we've seen competitors to beginners. You know, I've traveled all across the world, and so in the end, it's amazing to see, you know, the different body types and the different way that people learn, and then say, I've seen this before, and this is how I approach this type of situation. You know, and often it's just more inspiring to have someone use the language and with their education to just spark a little bit, you know. I use coaches for different reasons constantly, personally, not just in dancing, in different aspects of my life, because they just give me sometimes that extra juice that I need to kind of feel inspired to move on to the next level, you know. So we all need that outside influence, and that's what the coach does, you know.
Absolutely. There's something interesting that you said. You talked about how, you know, you've traveled the world, you've worked with all sorts of different people, so what you're...
Quick and slow. Change places. Quick, quick, slow. J, quick, quick, slow. Don't back it up. That's all right. Wait, face me for a second. Back it up. Quick, quick, slow. Back, kick and cross, turn 7, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up 1.
Oh, already?
Yeah. Oh, already.
Which one did you do?
I'll ask you a question that I know you don't know the answer to. As a coach, as a judge, as a traveling consultant, as a franchisee, as a teacher for years, can you even begin to guess how many dancers you have looked at and helped progress?
No.
You can't. I mean, it's got to be like 1 million or something.
No.
And so when we look at that body of work that a coach has, that experience that they bring in, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's incomprehensible even to you yourself. Like, I have no idea. But yeah, that's just incredible to be able to pull from that and be able to adapt to all the different types of people that there are studying ballroom dance.
Yes.
And as someone who's been in the industry a long time, have you seen a difference in that because of Dancing with the Stars, because of So You Think You Can Dance?
Yes, I think what TV shows like that has really opened up the possibilities of ballroom dancing. I think it was at one point perhaps seen as something that it was only for a type of person, a certain age, whatever it may be. And now it's open the possibility that it's endless, like anyone can do this. So from someone who might be disabled to, you know, again, age, what is the gender, you know, athletics, non-athletic, whatever it may be, it's just opened up the possibility of who would be interested in ballroom dancing and how it's influenced their lives. So I think it's been great. I think it really allowed people to see something that was sort of hidden a little bit before, and now it's become like, wow, this is a cool thing, and everybody's asking about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's fantastic.
Me too, me too. Now let's talk a little bit about you. Obviously, Arthur Murray International has very high standards for their traveling consultants and coaches. Tell us a little bit about your dance background.
So my dance background goes back in many disciplines and many styles. I originally started as a sort of jazz, hip-hop, modern dancer, and then did a lot of Latin club dancing in my youth. Used to, you know, from Montreal, drive straight right after work, after our Friday night practices at the studio, go straight to New York City at the Copacabana and dance all weekend because I couldn't get enough of it. And so I was a very club style dancer, plus my jazz and hip hop background. And then through the years of being with Arthur Murray, I just sort of went all in. You know, I felt so privileged and honored and extremely lucky to be in an environment and in an industry where I got paid to do what I loved, something that I really thought I would do for free for the rest of my life.
Right.
It's kind of as a hobby, honestly. And then when someone was paying me money to teach, I thought, really, is this possible? Pinch me. It was really that kind of perspective. And so I couldn't get enough of it. When I became a full-time teacher, I just went all in. I invested in learning from within the studio to outside of the studio, continuously in, you know, expanding on my education and my knowledge, so that I became as the best version of me as I can be. Mm-hmm. And with every time I learned something, I was always amazed at how, no matter how many years I'm learning something, even today I still do this, I'm always amazed at how much more new information I can gain and gather. So yeah, it's been a constant journey of learning, and I love to be able to share and spread that with others, because I know the influence and how it's benefited me, how I was this girl that really just thought this would be a little side thing for fun and kind of shy, and how now I've traveled the world and get to share this with others. So, you know.
It is quite incredible,
Yeah.
quite incredible. You know, back when I used to compete professionally, that's actually how you and I met, because you were one of my coaches. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that those who are professionals are always still seeking coaching and education.
Absolutely.
And so you work with a lot of professionals too, don't you?
I do.
Can you
So I
talk a
work
little
with
bit about
students and professionals, and because they're, you know, professionals are always looking for, again, that outside coach to kind of say, what do you see? Because, you know, dancing is still an art form, and that's something that sometimes people can forget. As much as we're learning the technical part of it, it's also an expression, and there's a style involved in that. And so what we try to do as coaches, even for professionals, is hopefully, again, inspire or influence their personal style to show up, while trying to keep up with the times a little bit, and what's kind of expected from professionals when they're competing, and within that truly discovering what suits them best. So that's the other way that we approach when it comes to professionals, because they already know a lot, but now how do we get the artistry out of them?
Right.
You know, and that's almost harder to learn than how to do something technically better.
Yes. Yes, it's very true. It's very true. Now, you were on the competitive end. You were a former Canadian champion.
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about your time as a professional competitor?
You know, it was an incredible journey where I loved every minute, and it was bittersweet in the sense that often, and not just as a professional competitor, but sometimes as a student who takes on competitions, let's say, you know, there's this line that always kind of resonated with me where they said, you know, comparison is the thief of happiness. And when you get caught up with comparison, and competition sometimes pushes that, but when you get caught up in it, you remove the joy of why you dance. And it was something that as a professional, I tried to always get back into that because I felt sometimes, oh, I'm comparing myself to others. I'm still not good enough. I didn't get that number one. And then quickly say, wait, what is the reason that I'm here? And this is a journey. And yes, I want to get better. And yes, sometimes the results are what we look at. But we can't let that influence why we dance, because it'll be seen on the dance floor.
Yes.
And so it was always a reminder to me, comparison is the thief of happiness. And if I want to be of integrity in my art form and in my way of being, I can't let that take away the joy. And so we'd often, we'd feel it as a partnership where we're getting too caught up with what's the result and what is this judge saying? And then I'd say, wait, okay, let's take a moment. I get it. We try to make everybody happy, but what do we want out of this? And usually when the closer we were able to stay within our truth, while we take on information, it would always show up as the best version of ourselves, and try not to get caught up with that. Because again, it just removes the joy,
It must be interesting for you to now be on the flip side. When you're competing, you're so worried about what the judges are thinking, what they're marking, what they're writing, and now you're also a judge. What's that like?
It's funny you should say that because you're right. Part of it is all the things that were told to me, I see it more because I'm the observer. I was like, oh yeah, I remember when I was like that, or I was like that, too fast, or not confident enough, and all the other things that came up. And the other thing is often between first and let's say if you're looking between first place to sixth place, there's not a huge difference. It really is if I were to put points, 1 or 2 points between first, second, and third, maybe a little bit more with the bottom, and but it's not an astronomical difference. And you think it is when you're competing, but when you're observing, you realize, listen, they're all pretty close. So then it comes out to who's been doing it long enough where it shows up with such grace and such ease as compared to the people that are not as long doing it. And there is at times missing of connections and things where the storyline gets missed. So it's not a huge difference, really, So it's in 2 scales. It's one, I would see what all the coaches were telling me at the time. And 2 is there's not a huge difference between first and sixth, really. Yeah. It's not that big of a deal.
It feels so different on the inside,
oh
doesn't it?
Oh my God, yeah.
One tip you might give to a student competitor who is a brand new competitor and is worried about what the judges are thinking. One tip you might give to them.
It would really go back to the line that I said. One is, don't compare yourself. Don't get caught up with that. What we love to see, I know when I speak for myself and many other coaches and judges, is we want to see that you bring the joy of what you're learning. Because when you get caught up with just trying to do things right, it shows in your demeanor. So you have to trust that everything that you've been doing in studio has now felt in your body. And now you have to go out there and take a chance that it's in there and you do what you can. Because in the end, we remember the feeling that you brought onto the dance floor, not the actual total amount of detail of, oh, your foot wasn't right, your arm didn't go there. It's an overall feeling. Because we have seconds to look at everybody. We don't even have that much time.
Right.
So in the end, we remember the feeling of confidence, of joy, of pleasure, of being totally in and kind of drawing us into what your fun factor is. So just trust that the technical part you've been working at in the studio, it's set in, and once you're there, just let it flow and don't get reminded of all the details. By that time, just trust that the body remembers it.
I love it. Great advice. Now listen, you're also a published author, and we're going to talk a little bit about your books right after the break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Patty Contenta, Arthur Murray International coach, consultant, and published author right after this.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just 1 or 2 options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex. Short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Cha-cha on the ballroom beat.
Welcome back to On the Ballroom Beat. Lania Berger here with the lovely Patty Contenta. We are just about to talk about her books. She is a published author. So let's start by talking about the fact that you have a new book coming out.
I do.
Yay, tell us all about it.
It's called Desirable and Deserving: How to Shift from Self-Doubt to Self-Confidence,
Oh, I
and
love that.
and radiate sensuality from within. So it's been my 10-year data information. I originally start with a book called Sensuality Secrets, which is my website. But after 10 years of working with my online business...
Before you go quickly, which is her website, sensualitysecrets.com, correct?
Correct.
And that's where we can go to find all of your different books.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, sorry, go on.
No problem. Over the 10 years, I sort of revamped that book and added more knowledge and more information that I gathered so that it was a more complete book. And where and we look at, how to be charismatic, how to exude feminine energy, how to use your body language, all these different aspects of being the best version of yourself, and discover your femininity. Because one of the challenges that many women, specifically because it is geared towards women, that have worked with me, that I've come across, is they're struggling to sort of feel sensuous, feel feminine in a world where, in order to be successful and to gain any kind of notoriety and to success, for lack of a better word, you need to sort of tap into your masculine energy more, because it's much more about, attaining goals, striving, and really kind of having strategies and being organized. When the feminine energy is about flowing, is about elevating the senses, it's about getting in touch with your emotions. And as women, we don't have time in a day to do that, because we're so busy trying to master other things in order to be financially independent and create a kind of prosperous life that we all want to have. And in that process, they've kind of neglected this other part of themselves. And so through the book, I've helped them kind of rediscover this and get more in touch with that part of themselves, so that it takes only seconds throughout your day to pay attention to how you hold yourself, how you walk, and how you observe life in the chaoticness of it all, to still nurture your feminine essence and spirit, so that she doesn't feel neglected, and then you show up depleted and kind of frustrated at times with life,
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. Now, a lot of this has to stem from some of your experience in the ballroom world.
Correct. All of it actually does. Most of it.
Okay, and
Yes.
how has that part of your life influenced this?
So all of it started, almost over 10 years ago, once I had gotten my divorce, and that was sort of a huge wake-up call, because at that point, the first question I asked myself was, what do I need to learn from this? I wasn't so much angry. I was sad, and I ultimately said, I'm a smart, intelligent person. How did this happen? And so I went through a journey of trying to figure out the answers. And one of the things that came to me was, ultimately, I'm this woman on a dance floor. When I competed, I oozed sensuality and I oozed femininity. And I said, can I use what I've learned there and adapt this to everyday life? And so I began to journal. What is it about my dance background that allowed me to thrive and to shine and to radiate? And so I took notes, and I observed from the way I walked to the way I used my body, the way I used physical contact. And then I started to adapt this in everyday life, and I noticed, oh my goodness, I started to get validation, and specifically from men, I have to be honest, because I wasn't feeling too good about myself when it came to that, that aspect of my life. And suddenly there was a plethora of men available to me. So it was great. And then what I did was give this information to other female friends of mine and see if they got the same kind of results, and they did, and then created a whole book around it and an online business, and then started to share this with other women. so that it wasn't just about getting validation from men. I mean, it was what started it all, because I was feeling like I had no self-worth, I was not sexy, my self-esteem had dropped. And at that point, I needed to rebuild my confidence again. So I used this as my kind of way to do that. But then it unfolded in so many other aspects of my life. So basically, that's what happened.
That's outstanding. I love that story. It's so inspirational. Now, I know we have lots of wonderful tips in your book, but can you give us just one tip right now on how to bring sensuality and femininity into the everyday?
So one of them could just be in the energy. I often call it the lean back energy. The lean back energy, when a person leans back in their demeanor, in the way they walk, in the way they sit, in the way they show up in a conversation, they're much more open and receptive. Leaning in, not that it's a bad energy, but it's a much more inspirational, motivational. We're going head to head. We're having this. So when I lean in, it's a different energy.
Yes.
When it comes to being receptive and open, especially with our male counterparts, they want to feel not that they're being challenged, but they're being received, that their gift and their masculinity is being received from me, the feminine. And so I often physically lean back in my demeanor, in my conversation, because it allows me to slow down. It allows me to be open and not show up non-judgmental. And not saying that lean in means judgmental, but it can come across that way, because sometimes we're not even aware non-verbally of what the messages that we're sending. So leaning back in my energy, from when I walk to when I sit to when I listen and to when I have a conversation, allows me to be more receptive.
Love it. And I'll tell you, to be in this seat, you feel that energy change. It's amazing. Okay, so tell us once more, how can we get to your ebooks to get them?
So you can either go to my website, sensualitysecrets.com, or if you want direct access to the book, you go to desirableanddeserving.com.
Okay, fantastic. And from there, we're able to get
Yes.
it. Perfect. That sounds great. Listen, it's wonderful having you here in Palm Harbor. We're so glad to have you coaching here once again. I want to ask you have a couple strange things that you're doing this time, aside from regular coaching.
Tell me.
We're doing a staff certification.
Yes, correct.
Which is really neat, and something else that I feel a lot of pride in as an Arthur Murray person, that we do have such high standards for our teachers, that we do utilize folks like Patty Contenta here to come in and do certifications with our staff to make sure that they are just top notch and the highest in the entire industry. So
correct. Yes, because we have a standard that we want to maintain, right? And Arthur Murray has a whole syllabus, and they need to study that, the professionals here, and they need to understand it. What is our syllabus? What is our language of education? So that once they're transmitting it to the students, we're all unified and sort of saying the same things. Even if we have different accents or different things that we like to emphasize, ultimately we have the same sort of Bible that we kind of look at and use in order to share the information with the students. So, and we have a certain standard that we maintain. I had to go through that when I certified, and now I'm master certifier, and ultimately we try to transmit that with our professionals also.
So we're glad to have you here doing that.
Good.
And then you're also working with the aerialists tonight, which is different and unique.
That's right.
We have a troupe of aerial performers, similar to what you would see in Cirque du Soleil with the silks and the lyra and the trapeze. And they love to utilize you, again, for the body language, for the arms, for the movement, so that they do create that kind of sensual experience. I think for them it's a little challenging because they're very strong girls. They're able to climb stuff, but I know last time you were able to bring some fantastic sensuality out of that. Enough that they were getting comments afterward, what did you do? Why are your arms are beautiful? What did you do? And they were crediting you, so they're excited to work with you again while they're here. And I'm going to go ahead and let you know, too, to our viewers out there, the head of that group is L'Oreal Marcus de Oliveira, and she will be joining us on the Ballroom Beat as we look at extreme dancing. They'll be doing some dancing in the air for us. And we have that to look forward to and more on the Ballroom Beat. Thank you again so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
It was so much fun to chat with you. Cool. And thank you all for joining us on the Ballroom Beat.
Cha-cha on the Ballroom Beat.
Again, thank you so much to Patty Contenta. It was a joy to have you at the Arthur Murray Ballroom Dance Studio, and such a delight to chat with you for On the Ballroom Beat. Thank you for being a part of the show. Now make sure that you tune in next week because we have so many exciting things going on in the world of ballroom that I'm going to get you caught up on. Two of the highlights, of course, National Dance Day is coming up. July 25th is National Dance Day. There will be celebrations across the country with a really big one right here in Palm Harbor, Florida. I'll be getting you updated on that. Also, Derek and Julianne Hough are touring the nation with their show Move, live on tour. If it's coming to a city near you, make sure to get your tickets. I highly, highly recommend it. I had the pleasure of seeing it in Clearwater, and I'm going to have some highlights for you next week. All of that and more right here on the Ballroom Beat.
Cha-cha on the ballroom beat. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Cha-cha on the ballroom beat. Got two left feet. Get on the ballroom beat. They're dancing in the street. They're on the ballroom beat. We can tango, we can swing, we can do anything. Walking through the door and waltz on the floor. You wanna feel the heat? Get on the ballroom beat. Cha-cha on the ballroom beat. Foxtrot on the ballroom beat. Salsa on the ballroom beat.